fucking 35-degree day. You know what I did before? I was like, I might do something and like record this in my car. That'll be a great idea. I started and I was doing it and I was like, fuck that. That's not what I'm doing. I just saw Benny Safdie's new movie, The Smashing Machine, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which follows the story of Mark Kerr, the UFC fighter, I guess, a mixed martial arts fighter, kind of as mixed martial arts was kind of coming to the forefront of popularity within the late 90s and then in the 2000s. It's also about Mark Kerr's, I guess, struggle with addiction and personal troubles within his life as he's, fighting to stop that from taking over or destroying his professional career. I'm just gonna say it right off the bat. I'm not a UFC guy or mixed martial arts. It's never been my thing. I kind of like wrestling. I mean, I love wrestling. That's why I kind of wanted to see this movie, because I wanted to see what Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Oscar-worthy performance would be. But I'm definitely not a UFC guy. I think it's kind of fucked up and gross. And this movie did not shy away from that. I'll say I was, I guess, not confronted. Actually, no, that's a lie. I was definitely fucking confronted by how brutal it must be in the ring. Like, you watch it on TV and you're like, fuck, this is gross. This guy's getting hit. He's starting to bleed, all that kind of stuff. But, the good thing about movies is that we can go in a little bit deeper and see actually what, or feel what it's like, and being made to feel what it's like. And I think Benny Safdie nailed that. I think that props should be given to the sound design and the score. I mean, the jazz and the way that jazz music is integrated into the normal scenes in the movie where two people are just sitting down having a conversation, or maybe it's following a character who's walking and doing their daily activity, and the way that is contrasted between what happens in everyday conversation or everyday activity, training, all that kind of stuff, with what happens in the ring. Each punch feels squishy and lands hard on flesh, and it's just gross to listen to, especially in a cinema. I mean, like, hearing it all around you, and the squelching, I guess, of bones against skin is just sickening. And I think the way that it is timed with the music and the score to kind of hit you all in one go, and really keep the adrenaline up throughout the whole affair is pretty great, pretty amazing. Performances, I would say that Dwayne is actually doing a more muted performance than what I thought. Watching the trailers coming into this, or not knowing much about Mark Kerr's journey, I didn't know if it was going to be a bit more, I guess, animated. I was expecting maybe a bit more animated, seeing as The Rock is kind of pitching this as his give me an Oscar-worthy performance. And it was a lot more grounded and, I guess, neutral than I thought it was going to be. The Rock kind of only dials it up when the film requires him to dial it up. And every time Dwayne gets into a more, I guess, aggressive mode, or Mark Kerr lashes out, whether that be, because of a loss or against Emily Blunt's character who's playing his wife, it kind of comes out of nowhere and it's a bit confronting. It creates this real tension, I guess, because his performance is so muted throughout most of the film. There's this underlying sense that it could just all boil over at any one time. And I was honestly scared for Dawn's character. Again, not knowing anything about Mark Kerr, seems like a great guy in real life. Not knowing anything, I wasn't sure which way it was going to go. And spoiler alert, I guess towards the end of the movie, it's actually Dawn who turns out to maybe be the more toxic part of the relationship. The other thing I really liked was that it's obvious that in the first half of the movie, it's all about Mark Kerr, or Dwayne's struggle with his addiction to opioids, and his real fight to keep his pain from getting in the way of everything else that he does, which is the reason that he gets addicted to such a disgusting drug. But I liked how that is the struggle in the first half. And then he goes to rehab around the middle. And as soon as he's out of rehab, he's really trying to better himself. And where you felt bad for Emily Blunt's character at the start because, Dwayne was being a bit more closed off and he was obviously struggling with addiction and maybe not taking responsibility for everything. It's actually her character later who and yeah, the script flips and her character is now the one who is being the aggressor and the maybe the wrongdoer in the relationship. I feel like that flip was kind of really well established by this one point in the movie where they're at the carnival and Dwayne is standing outside being responsible, being like, hey, I really want to go on this ride, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to because of my stomach. And Emily Blunt's really trying to push him to go on this ride, and he decides after recommendation to not do it, which is a contrast to how he might have acted before. And then there's this really good shot of him waiting outside and it zooming in on his like obviously in a dialogue, this quite muted performance, whereas Emily Blunt is enjoying her space alone within the craziness of this ride, and she's flipping upside down, which I think is you could read into that. But yeah, the performances were super solid. I thought that they were obviously the standouts, even though that I do think the script maybe let down Dawn Staples a little bit. It was very much focused on Mark Kerr and his kind of personal struggles. She has a big moment at the end of the movie, and her struggles are just kind of put on the back burner, and then the epilogue gives us a little bit more information, which is fine. It's a movie about Mark Kerr. It's not a movie about the other person. But I would have liked to maybe see her get a little bit more focus. It's just lucky you have such good actress like Emily Blunt holding it down, I guess. But I think that maybe by nature of the story itself and my lack of knowledge and definitely my lack of interest in UFC, it just felt a bit maybe a bit forced, I would say. Like we were forced to care about Mark Kerr's struggle, and at the start he's not a very likable protagonist. And it's kind of lucky that, not to give Dwayne Johnson too much credit, but, he is a very charismatic guy, which is why he's done so well in Hollywood. And I think that Benny Safdie was able to mute his, I guess, his rockiness or his rockness and just focus on Dwayne Johnson's performance instead of the rock side of Dwayne, which was able to kind of win me over towards the start because everything really does hinge on his performance. I also thought that there maybe could have been some more tension between the opioids and whether he actually was able to stop the struggle. The focus at the end of the movie was very much what parts of his past may come back to bite him in the butt in this big tournament, I guess, and his decision making. This movie was built to get The Rock or try and get The Rock an Oscar. It seems like it's in interviews and stuff, it's something that he's pretty passionate about. I guess coming up in wrestling and WWE. And you know what? The movie kind of succeeds in that. I actually think that with the help of Benny Safdie, this is probably The Rock's best performance ever. And I was happily surprised about how, I guess, again, down to earth and muted the performance was. Again, I was thinking it might be, one of those really dialed up impressionist performances that we've seen from a lot of biopics lately. Excuse me. But I was happy that it was not, or it didn't go that direction. Camera-wise or cinematography-wise, it was pretty good. I enjoyed that a lot of the scenes seem to be handheld, or at least not, not a static not a static shot. a lot of the dialogue scenes in particular had this kind of like uneasy movement, which I think combined with the performance or performances given, it was able to create this tension that maybe wasn't provided through the dialogue. You just felt like something was going to boil over at any moment, and the camera's constant jittering and movement, and I guess uneasiness in the scene was definitely fun to watch. I do think there maybe could have been some more variations though. There was a lot of that, and I think by the end of the movie I was kind of like, okay, is there anything cooler that's going to happen or anything else that's going to wow me? Which is not really the point of the movie, I guess. It's a biopic, so we should maybe just let it sit and be static and just be more about the performances. But just I guess a little, I don't know if I'm going to put this in, but a little spoiler tangent. I really thought that the best scene was the argument between Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson towards the end of the movie. There's a couple of arguments, but this one in particular, when Emily Blunt's just like, they're being toxic, and guys, I don't know how you got married after the epilogue says they got married. Like, how the fuck do you guys think it's a good idea to get married and have a kid after this? But I guess love knows no bounds or whatever. But she has this argument about being left out and is being super toxic towards Mark Kerr. If this was the real conversation, this is crazy. Mark Kerr being, pretty insistent, saying that she shouldn't be coming, and Dawn Staples, invading his privacy by being crazy and looking through his calls and voice recordings, which so many red flags that were popping up throughout that whole exchange. They go through this argument, and Dawn's like, you don't love me. And Dwayne's like, no, I just need to focus. This is the biggest moment of my life. And they have this back and forth, and she storms off, and or Dwayne tells her to go pack up her things. And this is right before a party. This is right before people are coming over. Like, guests are going to come over. So they're, being like, no, don't. I want to have a good time. Why would you do this to me? But she just like attempts to kill herself, which was pretty, like, my jaw dropped to the floor when that happened. I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. I know she's crazy, but that is also crazy. But I think there was a beautiful moment where, just after stopping that, I guess you could call it, well, you definitely can call it attempted suicide. Dwayne just kind of holds her, and for the first time, it's not him holding someone in an aggressive, offensive demeanor. It's a very defensive stance where he opens himself up and says, I don't want you to get hurt. Don't get hurt. I'm here for you, essentially. But it's the first time he's used his kind of wrestling or martial arts background to help someone in his life rather than hurt them, which I think was a very cool moment that I kind of had to share. Yeah. Kind of think if there's anything more I should add. No, I don't think so. I feel like I've just talked about things I like about the movie, and I haven't really been critical, but I'm still going to give it a, hold on, should I do like one of these ones? 3.5 out of 5. Yeah, I might just leave it there.